Hey, this is Voo, and do high ELO players make mistakes? Yes, somewhat often. But I want to take a look at a high ELO player here and break down what mistakes this type of player typically makes and how they can contribute more to their team regardless of making mistakes. First, I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Opera GX. Opera GX is a gaming browser which has a ton of benefits that you might enjoy. The most obvious ones for gamers are the GX control, which unlike other browsers, Chrome, allows you to limit your RAM, CPU, or network bandwidth usage to make sure you're not getting limited in any games you're playing. The other one that I personally enjoy is their integration with Twitch and other apps so that I can easily follow my favorite female Twitch streamers more actively. You can also customize Opera GX in other ways with things like themes, backgrounds, even background music, wallpapers, and forced dark mode. Opera is also easy to switch to as it has a tool that will allow you to quickly import your settings from your previous browser like history, bookmarks, and cookies. Not only that, but you can use Chrome extensions on Opera browsers so you don't need to relearn anything. Opera also has GX Mobile that you can use easily on your mobile devices. Download Opera GX for free today at the link in the description. So what I really want to do here is I want to bust the myth that high-level players simply make no mistakes and they're perfect Counter-Strike playing human robots. The reality is that you can make just as many mistakes or even more, but have better impact and win your team more rounds. And so I want to just look at a player here, Derber Alter. He's 2750 ELO, and show what he brings to his team despite making a good number of mistakes. So here, this is going to look like one of those rounds that just about anyone can do, because pretty much anyone can hold this angle with an MP9 if nobody shows up. There's really not much to it. But what is good about this round is that all the way by the end of it, he hasn't just tossed down his utility for no reason. So with 30 seconds on the clock, he still has his molly just tossed down. He's got a smoke he's going to toss down, and he knows the lineup to toss a one-way with said smoke. And then his opponents, I suppose you could say, make a mistake by walking into the one-way that they could have delayed for. Instead, Derber's going to get one kill. Certainly could have got a second. Instead, he wastes his whole clip. Just about dies, but gets this jumping MP9 kill. And then he does a really smart thing trying to get into the corner of the site there to prevent the bomb plant. But unfortunately for him, he doesn't succeed. And when you look at this round, just about anyone can see the flaws in what happened there, what went wrong. But they're less likely to notice the positives in what went well. He got 2 kills. No, but holding onto that smoke and actually having it later allowed a rotate from his team that wasn't yet set up in the site and actually gave them a chance at winning the round. Whereas if he hadn't had that utility, they simply would have lost. And that seems like a small thing, but these are the small things that separate players in certain ELO brackets from others. It's honestly really easy to pick out mistakes for anyone if you're really looking for them. And some of them are, kind of hard to tell. Like this one here, it can be a little bit tough to tell that this is a mistake that he's going to be making right here, because he's posted up on this angle, his teammate's going to make contact, and then he's going to pull out a flash in the middle of the open and get peeked out on and die. But honestly, if we rewind, it's not that big of a mistake overall, because he's got 2 teammates on the site. They probably shouldn't be able to peek him from there, but at the end of the day, he really should have his gun out. This is an example of a mistake that doesn't really change the actual course of the round, which are mistakes that you're free to make and don't matter too much. Obviously, don't make them. Just don't make them. Just don't make mistakes, guys. Come on. But these mistakes matter much less than other mistakes that actually lose your team rounds. And the thing is, really, you're free to make as many small mistakes as you want that don't lose your team rounds if you also make plays that win your team rounds. So here he's going to have the rotate over, the same exact flash, but this time it gives his teammate a lot of space and slows his opponents down so that he can get a double nade stack kill. Then he waits for his teammate to show up and throw a very similar flash to peek off of that, and that gives him and his teammate another peek they can go for. And then in the 4v1, he might over peek a tiny bit, arguably, but it really doesn't matter. Again, the round is already over. And this is one where the same flash he messed up throwing last round because there was no smoke up, this time he throws in the right moment, and this time it probably wins his team the round. Alternatively, sometimes 3K ELO players still do just make pretty basic mistakes. And what I want to showcase here isn't a player that makes a good amount of mistakes. Well, actually, that's literally what I'm trying to showcase. But I'm trying to showcase not that he doesn't deserve his rank, but rather that deserving your rank comes from a lot of different things. Some players are just not going to make very many mistakes, but a lot of players, I would say the majority of players, as you get to a pretty reasonable ELO, still make a good number of mistakes. But what they do is they make up for that by making round-winning plays. And you can see in this round, he does some more of that. You know, he's already done a good amount of damage in this round. He prevented his opponents from hitting directly into the bomb site a little bit earlier, and then he's going to get himself a kill. But not only that, he's going to get himself another kill and really lock down a bomb site from what was a 4v5. Now, of course, his team had a lot of control in this round as well. They did a good amount of work, but without him, this round looks very different. It's not that he hasn't made any mistakes, it's that he's made up for the mistakes with good plays as well. Okay, but what does high ELO banana control look like? Well, mostly like low ELO banana control as well. We've got the accidental miss nade, but we do have the return to the coffin flash to not get a kill, and then we have the whole spam your whole clip through a smoke in the corner of a wall bit, which is definitely very common. Now, of course, this is a bit more organized. Still, Derberalter's team comes out on top, and then he has a moment here. You can see it. You can see it in his eyes. The inner noob tells him, I should swing this. But the 3K ELO tells him, jump spot instead. One of the things that sometimes get missed in this type of game is that mistakes do get pushed a little bit as you get to higher and higher ELO. That means that sometimes players just have enough of a read on a round that they can really push what is a good or bad play. You especially see that with rotations where players will kind of move around the map sometimes based on reads that a lower ELO player couldn't notice, but also you'll notice opponents will punish for smaller mistakes than you would see otherwise, and so it can look a little bit awkward. And we see here Derberalter, a little bit of a mistake there on that timing, but then he has an incredibly chunky nade, throws the smoke in the middle of the bomb site we saw earlier, and this time plays around it to the side to essentially win his team the round. But if we look at that from the flip side, their mistake was a mistake that oftentimes, if you're playing weaker players, won't be really dealt with. It's how slow they actually got into the bomb site. They allowed Derberalter to go from the B side of the map into the A bomb site while they were still clearly hitting A. They just delayed a little bit too long. This is what I mean when I say, you know, at higher ELO, these smaller mistakes are going to get punished, and so they're going to be more obvious mistakes. So sometimes it can look a little bit more like someone at this ELO is making bigger mistakes than he is because his opponents are punishing them. Now, one of the nice things of being at higher ELO is you can occasionally play a little bit more coordinated. Not all the time, but I can tell you how this round goes if this is silver. Oh my god, purple. Why you team flash? Report. Report. But if you play with reasonable teammates, which isn't even a guarantee at any ELO, but if you do have them, you can have a sight hit look a little bit more like this, where Derberalter kind of won his team the round with that sight hit, although really it was on his teammate actually getting the kills, and then he finds a timing to catch his opponent in CT spawn off guard, which is great. But having played at lower ELO before, I can tell you one of the most frustrating things about low ELO is that because they don't know timings, they never don't check an angle, it feels like. Higher level players have an internal idea of where a player should be at a given time, and so sometimes they don't clear corners. It seems like around level Faceit 7 to 8, everyone clears everything every time because in their minds, anyone could be anywhere. That had no relevance to this video, but we're keeping it. Now, one of the things that can certainly elevate you to a higher level is if you can coordinate your team a little bit. And I'm saying it's very tough to do that with players that are at lower rank that just cannot be coordinated at all. And it can be tough at higher rank as well. However, when you do have useful teammates that are willing to listen, if you can coordinate them just a little bit. Look, I'm not saying to strat call. I don't think strat calling in pugs is actually beneficial because you put your teammates out of their element where they're comfortable, and I think that's actually a net negative usually. But when you get into mid and late round situations, if you can get your team on the same page, I think that's really beneficial. And so the beginning of this round wasn't a strat, but later in the round, they do go for a bit of a hit where Derber's going to throw a deep arch smoke. They already had mid a little bit cleared by their teammate in boiler, and they're just going to go for a fast wrap around into the bomb site, which absolutely catches the CTs off guard. Certainly could have won them the round, but unfortunately for them, the player in sight gets a 3K. It doesn't matter what elo you're at. I'm not going to tell people they should be strat calling, but if you have a receptive team, that is going to help you win rounds if you get them together on the same page. It can also help if you notice tendencies in the way your opponents are playing. For example, Derber Alter here has noticed his opponents are consistently playing sandbags, so they're going to go for a fast B push. Just make sure you clear sandbags. Somehow, though, they're still actually going to win this round from the 3v4 because their opponents do just kind of run in and die to some extent. At the end of the day, I really just want to dispel the myth that high elo players are like this different breed and it's impossible for your average person to get to a fairly good level without insane aim. I think we've seen mostly in this game, I mean, Derber Alter's got pretty solid aim. He's not really whiffing too many shots, but he's also not doing anything overly spectacular that I don't think other people could do. And he's also making his share of mistakes, as are his teammates and the enemy team. This isn't like the ascended beings that play Counter-Strike perfectly. This is just some people that make some good plays sometimes and still make plenty of mistakes. Now, if you get to 5K elo, maybe that's where it starts to get crazy. Look, we don't make mistakes. We make happy accidents. Except for Astralis. They don't make any mistakes. Or they didn't until recently, and then they benched Bubsky, and then whatever. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped.